All right, so welcome everybody to today's Tri-State SHRM Texarkana meeting. Certainly appreciate all of you taking the time to join us today. We've got a lot of information to present. Got some really great people that have joined us to talk on other things going on within the community. And obviously our presentation today is from LaTanya McElroy, talking about, are your employees raving about you? And so that'll be her presentation. She's actually our president-elect. We're very lucky to have her as a part of the chapter and to be leading us next year. She's been president before, so it won't be new for her. Before we turn it over to LaTanya, we're going to let Tony Tovar is our sponsor today with Sana Benefits. Sana Benefits has sponsored one of our meetings before, so we're very fortunate to have Sana partnering with us again in our chapter and presenting once again with us. So we're very excited to have him with us. And Tony, I'll go ahead and let you have a few minutes of time to talk about Sana Benefits. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that you're able to share your presentation whenever that time comes. So Tony, go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, thank you so much, James. Hello, everyone. My name is Tony. I'm the head of community. First of all, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to sponsor your March event. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real quick. I'm going to show you guys a quick video that's no more than a minute long. And then from there, we can just go ahead. Supposed to.
Giving your employees great health benefits is essential, and at Sana, we make it easy to administer, enroll in, and use those benefits. We've simplified open enrollment with an admin toolkit that allows you to review and approve enrollment requests within seconds. See how many employees are enrolled in each plan. View your business's claims activity, and get straightforward access to your invoices. Need to add a new employee? Sana makes that process easy too. Once enrolled, your employees will have easy access to their ID card and plan details, and they'll get a clear view into their claims and how they're tracking toward their deductible. Finding a doctor is easy, and they're all considered in-network at Sana. Have an employee that needs to update benefits due to a big life event? They can make that change with just a few clicks. Ready to change the way you do benefits? We got you.
Well, basically, we are a health plan. So if you are looking or if you're shopping around for a health plan, check us out. We are headquartered in Austin, Texas. Our main competitors are Aetna, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Humana, Cigna. If you have a health insurance broker, tell them to go to our main website. There's a tab on our main website that says brokers, and they can request a health quote for you guys, so you guys can see how we're pricing. And also, if you're an HR professional and you handle all benefits, we can help you with that. So if you want to get a quote, I'm going to give my information. One thing I do want to say is that if you decide to go into our main website and you request a quote and a demo, make sure that you give your chapter credit and let us know where you learn about Sana, because I can tell you that I'm doing about 10 to 15 presentations a week, and I'm meeting with different SHRM chapters in Texas, Illinois, and Kentucky. I'm actually going to Kentucky tomorrow to do their first hybrid event. So I'm always presenting in front of people, and I always tell them, please give credit to your SHRM chapter. Tell us where you heard about Sana benefits. Again, we are a health plan. If you're shopping right now for because your renewal is coming up in 3 months, check us out. We're Texas based, support local, and thank you so much for having me, guys. I also share with you guys an HR survey. I'm in charge of doing the educational and learning webinars. So please go ahead and fill out the HR survey. Tell us what type of offerings I should be offering HR professionals who are based in Texas. And I'm also raffling off five $50 Amazon gift cards. And that's what Sana is. And that was my commercial. I wanted to show the video instead of like a bunch of boring text, because I know that you guys see a lot of presentations, and I don't know, I just wanted to be different.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you so much, guys. And thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you, Tony. It's always good to hear from you. We really appreciate you partnering with us and allowing us to kind of help promote you and the company that you represent. Obviously, open enrollment and insurance can always be difficult, and it doesn't always go as smooth as we like it. So hopefully, people will be willing to check Sana benefits out and give you a shout if they need to discuss that further with you. Our next presenter, so to speak, just to give us a little bit of information about something coming up in the community, is Natalie Haywood with Texarkana Chamber of Commerce. She's going to talk about the Women in Business Virtual Conference. So, Natalie, if you want to speak on that for a few minutes, go ahead.
Absolutely will. Thank you, JW. I appreciate it. I'm with the Texarkana Chamber of Commerce. Like you said, my name is Natalie Haywood. I do all of our events and communications here at the Chamber. Anything we put out, I usually have a background input on that. So I put a link in the chat, and y'all let me know if it does not work. It's a constant contact link to an email I sent out yesterday. It works? Okay, good. So you should be able to click on that. This is our Women in Business virtual conference this year. We actually got to have it last year in person, like the week before the pandemic. But we've decided to go virtual this year on the Socio app, which is the same application that we used for the Engaging Texarkana conference in September. Really user friendly. It's really cool. Has lots of information in it about sponsors, about keynote speakers, the agenda, things like that. And you can access all of it from your phone or your desktop. Just give you a little background. The Women in Business Conference, it's a one-day learning conference, opportunity to expand your knowledge and network and hear from other women about leadership in today's working world. It's hosted by the Chamber of Commerce. We've got a great committee of ladies that have put this together. LaTanya serves on that committee with us, thank goodness. Her input's been invaluable. But it's packed with great content and insight for the working woman. We hear from, you can see on that email from that link, we're going to hear from Sarah Thomas, the NFL's first female official. She is going to speak to us for about 45 minutes and take some Q&A from the comments at the end. So that'll be really cool to hear from her. She is joined by Sherry Davis, which is the founder of Shift Forward. She speaks professionally and does trainings and different things like that. She is amazing. I've loved working with her already. Then at 11:15, we will have a panel of local small business owners. And on that panel is Charmonique Manning, which is Eden's Professional Cleaning. And we've got Davey Hamlet with For All Brand Kind. We've got Sharkeetha Washington with which is the Cookie Lady that you know of well. And then we also have Cassidy Lavender with Lavender Thorn. And those will all serve on the Women in Business panel at 11:15. And then we go into at 1:30, Natalie Bartholomew will speak for us. She's out in Northwest Arkansas. Her tagline is the Girl Banker. She works in banking as a female, which you know is fairly rare. And then we also have Julie Santiago talking about not getting burned out in the workplace. So it's going to be really great content. It's a full day, and it'll end around 4 o'clock, starts at 8:30. We'll have a lunch break in there. There's a game on the app that gets super competitive, and it's a lot of fun. We've got some great prizes to give out for that game that you can enter in quiz answers into that and earn points. So if y'all don't have any other questions, that's my main presentation for it. I appreciate you letting me jump on here and let you guys know about it. I can give you the coupon code if it doesn't show in the constant contact email. We're on Eventbrite for purchasing tickets, or you can email me. I will put my email in here to purchase a ticket. But the coupon code is We Are Texarkana, all capitals. And that will give you a discount on your ticket. All right. JW, y'all have any other questions?
All right, thanks. That's great, Natalie. Appreciate you sharing that with us. And make sure to check out the chat box for not only Natalie's information, but also Tony's as well. So make sure if you haven't pulled up the chat box, you open that up to get access to some of that information that we've been sharing so far during the meeting. So thank you, Natalie. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Last but not least, before we turn over to LaTanya, let me introduce Lainey Basham. So she's with Track, and she's going to kind of update us on things going on within their organization that maybe you can utilize and take advantage of for your organizations and your employees. So Lainey, go ahead.
Thank you, appreciate it. Yes, so we are the Texarkana Regional Arts and Humanities Council here in downtown Texarkana. And we have the Regional Arts Center with public hours from 12 to 4, Thursday through Saturday. We currently have our 19th annual Regional Celebration of African American Artists with our quilts, fabrics, and fibers exhibit up through April 10th. And it now has a self-guided tour through QR codes. So encourage your teams, your groups to come by and check that out of our local regional artists. We also, our education department has started a creative zone down in our basement. And this could be a really great team building opportunity exercise for your teams. So I wanted to put that out there. It's just kind of creating these creative spaces to really kind of help develop that creative thought and collaboration. It can be just kind of you guys leading your own process, or we could also talk with our education staff about maybe helping kind of guide that process for you. And then over in our the Pro Theater, which we manage for the city of Texarkana, Texas, we have the Perot Spring Break coming up on March 20th. It's a Saturday. We will have daytime movie of Finding Nemo for kiddos and families. That will also include a street fair, which is a hula hoop contest, a cornhole tournament. So, hey, maybe your business or nonprofit wants to represent, get a team together and show up. Some other festival games, probably some food trucks and vendors. And then that evening we'll have kind of the adult spring break time with Dazed and Confused, which for those of you that know this, this film, it was Matthew McConaughey's first film, who's from East Texas, but Dazed and Confused was written by someone from Foreman, Arkansas about growing up in Foreman, Arkansas. So it's got that local tie. So check that out. Tickets are $6. So a great employee customer appreciation option as well. And we have sponsorship opportunities for promotion. And then we'll also be having a Independence Day, similar movie and festival day, let's see, June 26th, the Saturday before 4th of July. So again, that will have family and other activities and great opportunities for sponsorship, employee and customer appreciation. So thank you. And you can always follow us on Facebook. We have a Track page, Pro Theater page, and our Art Smart, which is our education staff, are constantly putting content on there to help with being more aware of the arts and just opening up your creative process. So thank you.
Thank you, Lainey. Appreciate it. I hope everybody is willing to check out the opportunities that Track has to offer for, like she said, some possible team building within your organization, maybe some rewards for incentives to hand out for those employees that maybe you're standing out above the others. Last but not least, I'm just going to make sure that everybody knows that our next meeting has already been scheduled, and we'll have Larry Jones with Edward Jones. He's a financial advisor, and he'll be talking about the fundamentals of investing. So you should be getting emails on that probably today or tomorrow to start registering for that. But you're actually here today to hear from LaTanya McElroy, okay? So LaTanya is our president-elect, and she's going to be talking about, are your employees raving about you, okay? LaTanya is the vice president of human resources at BCS Data Center Operations. She has her MBA, SPHR, SHRM, SCP, and a talent acquisition specialty credentials. So LaTanya has done a lot of great things within the community, and she's a great person to listen to, especially on a topic like this. So LaTanya, I will go ahead and turn it over to you. The floor is yours.
Thank you, JW. I'm going to try to share my screen here. Good afternoon, everybody. I know that all of us are kind of working and listening at the same time, and I appreciate, we appreciate you taking the time to network with our human resources group and for us to stay connected as a chapter. Are you able to see the screen with the slides on the left and then one slide in the middle, JW. Hello?
Yes, I can see it.
Oh, okay. And also I wanted to just say, I appreciate our sponsor and thank him for participating in our meeting today. You know, it's important that we take the time to ask questions and connect with our sponsors because they take time and resources and they're giving them to our chapter. So we definitely want to do that and appreciate you. And I will complete your survey that you provided to our chapter members. Also, would like to thank Natalie. Natalie has been a tremendous connector in our community, and I want to say happy belated Women's Day to all of the women on the call and share that this women's conference is the second and was a huge success the first time, but I think it's the first of its kind in Texarkana, and the fact that we can do these things that are geared specifically toward women in the professional environment or in business, I think is incredible. And I'm thankful for Natalie's hard work and the people on the committee. I wanted to mention to you guys that one of the speakers, Cherie Davis, is actually one of the top SHRM speakers for the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Conference. She's on the SHRM Speakers Bureau list. And so you know that the quality of the speakers, you know, there are outstanding. She's one of their top rated speakers. And of course, to be able to celebrate a first in the NFL referee is amazing, and to hear from her. So I'm looking forward to that seminar. By the way, it is virtual, so you can watch it while you work, for those of you who may be wondering about that. And it starts at 8:30 and is a full day. But thank you again, Natalie. And Lainey, thank you for your connection with us with track, and we'll check that out. Those activities, Treva's my friend, and she helped to coordinate that quilt. You know, the quilts are important to history, and if we trace them back, they go all the way back to Harriet Tubman, and before that, the signs that were used to point people to freedom. So I'm excited about the opportunity to see that. Anyway, here we are today, and I want to get right on topic. Because I can't see your faces, I'm going to actually ask for you to participate in the chat a little bit today. So keep your chat window open. And if I can figure out how to see mine, JW,
I'll help you out with the chat.
You can help. Okay, maybe you can kind of say what you're seeing in the chat.
Sure.
So before we get started, I wanted to ask, figure out who's in the audience. So all of the group, some of you, I know your names and I've seen you. We've been around a long time, some of us, and some are newer to me. So I want to ask you in the chat, tell me in years, how long you've been a member of our chapter? First question. And just real quick, I'm gonna fire off another question in just a minute. And the next question is, what's your title in HR, or what's your responsibility in HR?
Years of service, LaTanya. We're getting a lot of 3, 6, 4 to 5, a couple. We got a 10, so that's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is. Okay.
HR directors, recruiting managers, HR managers, quite a few managers, generalists. Kind of someone that does a little bit of everything with Jennifer Sutter. She's the city secretary, director of finance.
Yes. Wears a lot of hats.
Yes.
In that role. Yeah. So we have a variety, and that's good. I'm going to ask you a few more questions, but that helps me a lot. So, and one of the things that I want to ask you is, how many of you ask your employees formally for feedback regarding human resources and your services that you're providing to your company? How many are formally asking for that feedback, whether it's formal surveys or things like that, where you're tracking that? And if you're tracking it, just type in yes. And if it's not formal, just maybe type in not formally.
We've got all the time. We have in the past, but not consistent.
Okay.
Constantly verbally, but officially twice a year. Nothing formal. So quite a bit not doing it formally.
Okay. Not doing it formally. Okay. All right. That helps too. So I wanted to share, there's so much, to be honest with you, there's a ton of things that I wanted to share, but I just narrowed it to some highlights. And my thinking is, if we can take one thing away from today out of everything that's shared, that's good, because a lot of times in HR we have a lot of responsibility, especially through COVID. Some of us have been extra taxed in terms of time and resources. So why give you another long to-do list of things that we need to do or change? So I would actually like to propose that we maybe just think about, as we listen in, just think of one thing that we might be able to do differently or better or begin doing. And then you might find some opportunities during this presentation where you go, yeah, tap myself on the back because we're doing a great job with this. I want to share with you a couple of quotes from our employees, and these are just ones I had real handy. One employee says, "It's my pleasure to work with outstanding people who make other people feel important. I've been a number most of my life and always did more than my job required to still be just a number. It's nice to feel like a family here at BCS. That's as important to me as anything. I am a BCS soldier and appreciate being welcomed and made to feel like I am an important piece of the future." This is a team member who's been here for a year in February. Another quote I just have right here on hand is, say, "Thank you so much, LaTanya. BCS has certainly been one of the best employers ever, ! Hoping to enjoy many more years with the team, plus the most totally awesome HR team ever. Blessings, Dan." So I just want you to know some of the words that I've heard, and then we do these formal surveys, obviously, through after onboarding, we do a survey. And I want to say right now, I'd like to say I'm proud of our team. It's not a LaTanya thing. It's not a, I'm proud of our entire team, because there is a lot of effort put into making sure our employees know they're not just a number, that they're part of a family. And our team makes that possible. Carly and Adrienne and Kim. And so I want to applaud that. But I want to share with you, the reason I mention that is when I think about employees raving about us, there are so many opportunities to gather that information. We can gather informally, we can gather informal surveys, which I highly recommend multiple times a year as well, but definitely after onboarding, that full experience through orientation. And then at least once a year, I really think that's a great idea. But then on the exit interviews, obviously getting information. And you think that most exit interviews, people will bash the organization, but I found some of our best feedback from, and most positive feedback during the exit interviews, even related to HR. We as HR, I call us champions. And so you'll hear me refer to champions in this presentation a lot. And in fact, I'm working on a book. Well, I have almost finished the first of a series that's talking about workforce champions, not just HR. But I really believe that HR tends to wear the cape in the organization. I might be a little biased, but that's how I feel about us and those who do this work, because it's truly a work of the heart. And, I don't know, sometimes there's not enough money in the world to keep us in this job. It's kind of like you have to love it to stay in it. So I want to talk a little bit about that. I have 9 key points here that I'm going to share. I want you to know that I come to you humbly. I have been in the field for 15 or so years, but I learned something every day. I don't feel like I have arrived. I just hope that every day my work somehow is inspiring others, and I hope that I'm continuously improving in the process. Here are just a few keys that I've learned that we engage every day, and I believe they're parts of the reason for the positive feedback and some, I could say, level of success. The first is operating with integrity. So I believe, it's my belief, that HR champions do the right thing. And we do the right thing sometimes even when it's really hard to do the right thing. And I truly believe that it's us who within our organizations often have to hold others accountable, obviously, for doing the right thing. And here's something that I learned in some of my study and research, that, and this is probably something that you knew all along, but people really, they just want honesty. And even if it's not what they want to hear, people appreciate the honesty. And we have to find ways to build trusting relationships enough so that we can be honest with people and they trust us. And so HR people are intentional about integrity, honesty, and doing the right thing. And I would tell some stories, and I'm glad I'm in this company, but I don't want to prolong our presentation, and I'll save some of that. But I do want to say that oftentimes doing the right thing, maybe letting someone go. But it doesn't mean it has to be an awful experience and that they can't be treated with dignity and respect. And I know some of us have been through that, engaged in situations where a manager might be ready to get rid of someone, and the process by which they'd like to do it may not be with dignity and respect, may not be the right way. And as HR, we get to do the hard thing, which is say, no, we've got to hold ourselves accountable and take this person through this process the right way. And that's just one example. A few of the articles that I used for this particular slide are how to cultivate ethical leaders and why trust matters at work, and creating an ethical workplace. Those are all SHRM articles. How many of you have a code of ethics and business conduct policy? That's a question for the chat. If you have a code of ethics and business conduct policy related to ethics, let us know if you do in the chat.
We've got a few saying yes, more so saying yes than no.
Mm-hmm. Some no's, mostly yes.
Yeah, like one or two no's, but mostly yeses.
So it's a wonderful idea to have that policy in place, because what you do is you get that policy written just like you want it. So what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to hold people accountable. And sometimes ethics are somewhat intangible, but when you have it in writing, then you have that ability to hold people accountable to that. But I'm talking about even going beyond policy. I'm saying the things decisions we make. One rule of thumb I've always used is I don't do anything at work that will keep me from sleeping at night. Now, there are a lot of things that make me worry, but I have peace when I lay down and I go to sleep because I know I did the right thing. So we're going to move to the next slide. The next slide is communicating effectively. And I would like to share HR champions really understand why this is true. Sometimes sending no message at all is equivalent to sending the wrong message, because people just fill in the blanks. And sometimes really, we're just busy. We're busy, our leaders are busy, our managers are busy. It's not that we don't care about the issues that concern everyone. And sometimes it's not that we're not talking or aren't trying to be transparent. It's just that everybody's head is down, we're working. But HR champions understand the need to engage top executives in communications to employees, to make sure communications cascading from the top. We can't as HR people allow our top executives to be silent or elusive. Though they may not always be as charismatic as our HR people, they may not have the same personality and like to engage in a lot of communications. It's our charge to find a way to make sure employees feel connected and that communications are coming from the top down. That leadership is setting the tone for communication. Has anybody in the group ever dealt with that issue where, you're responsible for morale, or you feel like it as HR, you kind of feel like that's our job, but you feel a little out of control about how communications are done or when or if they are? Anybody has ever felt that feeling of really, I feel helpless. I feel like I don't have any control. The struggle with that communication issue, or how it's done, or whether it ever gets done, is a concern for us. Maybe you don't want to put in the chat about that, but we are going to, as HR champions, assist our leaders with communication skills, development of that, and making sure that they are three things. Number one, make sure our leaders are self-aware. What I found is if a leader is sending angry emails, long paragraph angry emails to subordinates, oftentimes they're just not aware that when words come out of their mouths or from them, that they may perceive it as I'm really concerned. I'm just trying to emphasize the importance. But the recipient sees them as the big bad boss. So it's difficult for them to translate. And also sometimes they need to know, self-awareness says, you know, these are types of conversations you can't have over an email, that you need to have face-to-face with that employee. And don't send the email if you're mad. Don't, if you're angry, don't click send. And then secondly, helping our, in terms of assisting our leaders, helping them to make sure they are listening, that they're spending time asking questions, the right questions, and actually listening to their teams. And then third, that they're talking. Because if people don't know, they don't know. So also we make sure that we know how to help them have difficult conversations. Most of the time when there are hard conversations to be had, either managers avoid the conversation altogether. Sometimes there are a few that can handle those diplomatically, and then there are others who come to us for advice on how to do that. And so one of the things we can help them with is that teach them to ask the right questions, to be curious, teach them to stick to the observable facts, not any kind of emotional or substantial or subjective, feelings about it. You know, when we're talking to employees about difficult things, just stick to observable fact, and then teach them to focus on getting commitment from both themselves and the employee going forward with how they're going to solve the problem, and making it about business, even if it's personal things coming into the workforce, keeping the difficult conversations, making sure there's a business connection there. People's emotions are like all over the place right now with COVID. I don't know if you guys have been through it, and in different times and seasons, it's up and down, but it's so important for us to realize that there are a lot of things at play with individuals outside of work that impact the way we communicate. But most importantly, we have to continue to do it even when it's hard. And communication goes both ways. You know, in a lot of organizations, it's just always the leaders talking. But we also want to make sure that although communication should definitely cascade down, we need to be asking for employees' feedback. One of the fun ways to do that is asking for employees' contributions to newsletters, videos, focus groups, you know, just engaging employees and sharing, even articles and different things like that, but on a regular basis. Did anybody read the article that the Texarkana Police Department published? I thought it was really an awesome article. Zaire is a high school graduate from Texas High who was a drum major, and at some point he's become a police officer. So, but he's well known in the community because when you're the drum major for Texas High School, all of the kids in the community, you know, come to know who you are. And now he's a member of the Texarkana PD. Well, I thought it was really awesome how the Texarkana Police Department allowed Zaire to write an article about a day in the life of a police officer, and that was shared. I think it was on Facebook all over the city. But things like that are simple, but it shows our employees that we actually care and we're listening, but it allows them to have a voice and contributions. And there are so many examples of how we can do that, including surveys and the formal things we've talked about. But with communication, here are 5 C's to remember with communication: that it should be clear, cohesive, complete, concise, and concrete. And you can find all of this information through various SHRM articles: how to improve leaders' communication skills, the 5 C's of communication. That's from Vista Projects. And then promoting effective workforce communication through SHRM, 3 steps to better communication, and managing organizational communication. Our next slide is being great at interpersonal relationships. And this one, it actually requires a little bit of EQ, and that's a real big buzzword right now. Emotional intelligence is acronymed EQ, and it is the ability to perceive another's emotions, reactions, perspectives accurately, and handling those relationships judiciously and empathetically. Here we have to realize how critical interpersonal skills are for people to be successful. So a lot of times when, for example, we're engaging for HR people in interviewing, and our managers are engaging in interviewing, sometimes we're not measuring a candidate's ability to interact and engage their EQ. We're measuring whether they can do they have the required experience, the education, have they, do they have the knowledge, skills, and abilities related to that. But emotional intelligence is a huge competency, and it may make or break a person in a job. It may determine whether they're even compatible to work in your organization, with your culture, or with your people in the way that you would like. And so one way to help and make sure that as HR people, we're hiring the right people is to engage in and train our managers in behavioral interview questions. So we make sure we understand how people handle communication. How do they work in teams? Do they deal with conflict very well? How do they manage when things get really challenging or stressful? What are their successes? Do they know how to organize and prioritize when there are a lot of demands? So it's really getting away from knowing what people can do and then really understanding what people have done and their emotional intelligence. So we want to navigate to really connect with people so we can actually get to know them as acquaintances. Now, here's a sticky part. We want to humanize HR and recruitment, so we connect with people, we figure out what they like, what their values are. But at the same time, we have to realize with our jobs that with connection and engagement comes a lot of talking. And sometimes people start sharing things that are really personal. So we have to know where that line is. And it is a delicate balance. But I believe that we can do this connecting and engaging and involving in interrelating while balancing and avoiding the legal risks. Another thing we have to balance when we start making connections with people and getting to know them and making acquaintances at work, whether it's throughout the interview process or with coworkers, is that we have to find a way to connect with everybody. Have you ever been in a situation where you had a great connection with one or two, but you just hadn't found that common ground with others? And we as HR have the challenge of helping our managers and even making sure we all understand that we have to balance that. So we have to create the same connections or forge those same connections the best we can with everybody. It may be small, but we have to avoid the appearance bias or the in group or favoritism or partiality. So it sounds good to say we have interpersonal relationships, but a lot of us have shied away from that because of things that have happened because of that. But I want to challenge us to try to make sure we remain personal or have those interpersonal relationships without crossing those lines and showing any partiality and without getting into legal ramifications for that, but still doing it. Because some may say, at work, I just want to keep it professional. Well, you can keep it professional and still connect with people on a personal level. And some people may have a struggle with that or may not be comfortable doing that. I talked to someone who really wasn't comfortable with that. He knew how to go through the process and ask questions in the interview, but he didn't know how to connect and just kind of break the ice. And so what happened with people he was talking to weren't really sharing, they weren't opening up, and they weren't being transparent, and it was difficult because he was unable to assess a person's fit for positions because he wasn't getting enough information. And I just taught some simple steps. Hey, before you start into the questions, just break the ice. Ask them how they're doing. Ask them how the weather is where they are. Once you find one point of connection, they like to ski or whatever it might be, you'll remember that. And then you may come back to that periodically so they know you remember, but break the ice. And then you start talking. So interpersonal relationships and skills. Now, there are a couple of articles here, but I just want to say this. Nobody's perfect at communications and building interpersonal relationships. There's not a perfect person in the building, and nobody's going to ever arrive and be 100% proficient. But we all need to remember to keep trying and try to learn from our mistakes and try to connect with others naturally. You know, if you need help, get feedback from somebody in HR that you trust, and just give it a try. There are some people on this call that probably are experts and can help all of us. But anyway, I want to share the articles. Practice makes proficient. Managing relationships is critical to HR. The hard truth about soft skills. HR's hard challenge when employees lack soft skills. And then HR and friendship, a tricky business. Those are a couple of references related to that. Okay. I'm going to ask you guys to get in the chat. And this is on culture. Being culturally competent means that I can engage with anybody effectively. Doesn't matter who they are, where they came from, what their cultural makeup is. I can effectively talk to anybody. That is being culturally competent. Now, here's the quiz that I have for you guys. In the chat, tell me, what do you believe? What things do you believe impact culture? What characteristics or things do you believe make up a person's culture? Put everything that you can list more than one thing, but all of the attributes or the things that impact or make up someone's culture. That's their perspectives, their beliefs, their values, why they are who they are. And I can't see the chat, so JW, I guess tell me what they're.
We got one person responded so far, so hopefully everybody will make sure you're getting on that keyboard and typing. We've got past. Their past is a big factor. Experiences, beliefs, and values, like you said, Latanya. Family, where they have lived, one place or multiple. Education, work experience. Quite a few things about family, education, upbringing.
Yes.
Family and religion, personality.
So I'm going to list for you, this may not be all inclusive, but this is a lot of what our people who are responding saying. Age, caregiver status. Are they caring for an elderly parent or a disabled sibling in the home? Class, communication styles, educational background, ethnicity, the one we all know, family status, like someone said, gender identity or expression, geographic location, where they live now, where they have lived, like someone mentioned, group identity. Maybe they're a member of the Pink Cup Society. I don't know, whatever group they identify with. Income, job classification and function, language, marital status, military experience, organizational background, level, parental status, physical abilities and qualities, race, relationships, religious beliefs, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, thinking styles, and work experience. But the bottom line is everyone is like a blend. And so understanding culture means we understand that no two of the same gender are alike. Not all women love to shop. Not two people of any race are even exactly alike. Because just because two people are the same race doesn't mean they like the same things or that they are alike. No two anything are necessarily alike. So our danger is really with culture is grouping people and categorizing people by what we know. That could actually make us culturally ineffective. So what do we have to do to be culturally competent? Do we have to know everything about every person or know everything about every culture? We don't. But what it tells me is that we have to be open. We have to be so open that we don't have preconceived or we make up for our unconscious biases. There is a quote that I'll remember in Teaching International Business that Mark Twain is quoted in this book. And he says, travel is fatal to prejudice bigotry, and narrow-mindedness. And many of our people need travel sorely on these accounts. Broad, wholesome, charitable views of men and things cannot be acquired by vegetating in one little corner of the earth all one's life. What he's basically saying is we have to be exposed so that we get rid of all of our biases and prejudices and all of our narrow-mindedness. And often with cultural incompetence, it's just a lack of exposure and a lack of self-awareness. We don't realize the limitations that we have on our own perspectives based on our upbringing and our own blend and the belief systems and values that we have that may be different from others. So I want us to think or leave thinking about everybody is a different smoothie. Just because they're both green smoothies, I mean, you know what's in it. And so we have to keep that in mind when we look at people. Now I'm going to be picturing people like a big, tall smoothie, but that's not the point. But the point is to say, I don't know what's in their mix. And in order for me to, I have to get to know them. And they may have to tell me. Or I just may get to know them as we spend more time together, but never making assumptions and being open to who people are. This next one is very brief: diversity versus inclusion. I know a lot of us have talked about this and studied this, so I don't really necessarily have a lot to share on this, but I do want to say this. When it comes to diversity and inclusion, of course, diversity says you're allowed in the room. Inclusion says you actually have a voice, you have impact, and we're listening to what you have to say. And then oftentimes that means that in certain settings, we have to, enlarge our tables. Someone says, well, when it comes to inclusion, it feels like in order to allow someone else a seat at the table, someone else always has to move. But I'd like to challenge you to say, we don't need to do that. Let's just enlarge the table, get input and insight from a diverse group of individuals. And remember, we just talked about diversity as more than just, one thing, but all of those things, different thoughts, different work experience, different backgrounds, different values, but allowing a voice for everyone to be represented. And the next slide will be finished shortly is partnering with hiring managers, marketing, and your division leaders for effective job posting and candidate searching. What we found, and Adrienne is on the call, but Adrienne goes through a process with a hiring manager where they go through a detailed evaluation planning for the vacancy. Okay, what are the day one activities this person should be able to perform that you expect them to be able to come in and perform day one that you need based on what you have right now and what's open? Next thing is, what are the top 3 goals this person needs to accomplish to be able to accomplish the first year? And reviewing the job description, making sure as HR, we get it. We know what they're doing. We understand the key terms and functions. So we know what the required job skills, education, experience are, but also those key words. We work in an organization where it's hard to understand what everybody does. I'll be honest with you, unless you study it. So what we've had to do is learn the language of our field. And then when we go through, and you could learn this in a talent acquisition course through SHRM, you can use Boolean searches and go and mine using those searches to mine resumes and mine M-I-N-E candidates that fit your needs. And so partnering with your marketing team to build your internal brand and culture, getting your social media involved, getting the people who work with you involved, sharing articles that are interesting in the industry, talking to the new people or potential candidates about your business model, in hopes of attracting them to you because of who you are and the uniqueness that you offer compared to your competitors. But really, the main thing is partnering with the hiring manager and all of your teams so you know what you're looking for. And as far as HR, we love to spend the first round in interviews and doing the cursory interviews because we ensure that we're checking all of these boxes on the first round. How many times have people gotten through the whole entire interview process with a manager and you meet the individual and you go, this person didn't check a whole lot of boxes. What happened? Well, what happens is they weren't focused on day one activities sometimes, or goals, or knowledge, skills, and abilities that match the job description, or certain things. They just really hit it off in the interview, and we want to hire him or her, right? So this is one thing we do to help our organizations, is partner with them on talent acquisition. How many of you are a part of your organization's strategic planning process? You're in the meetings, you're planning, or you're participating in the strategic planning process? In the chat, if you can.
Yeah, we got a few yeses.
A few yeses. And so what I found is a lot of times HR isn't involved or has very little involvement, or sometimes our companies don't spend a lot of time on strategic planning, depending on the size of the company. But I want to challenge you to think about what are your goals for our HR department? What are our strategies this year? And how will we know if we're falling short or how we're doing? And here's a model that we developed that helped us to look at the whole entire candidate pipeline and all the way through once a person is hired, and measure everything related to our profession. And so this is ours. You can do yours how you want, but these are all key, what we call key performance indicators. And we benchmark them all year long and then compare them back to see how we're doing. And sometimes we do these quarterly, some of these are monthly. But the main thing is we're looking at it and we're measuring it. And then we tie these things back to the company's goals and our bottom line and our strategic direction. So when we're having conversations, we can have conversations around the table about goals and how HR impacts the organization meeting those goals. However, how many have ever had to fight or vie for an HR position because you're a service aspect, you're an expense, you're not a, well, when you tie it back to the bottom line, you also show the value that HR brings and the savings in some cases, but the value that HR brings to the organization. And I'd be glad to talk to somebody about some of this at another time. I want to move on to our final point, and that is champions proactively engage new managers for success. So many managers end up in management by default, or because they were really good in their jobs, and all of us know this. And so new managers sometimes don't receive formal training, and some of the trainings that are out of the box trainings that we give the managers, even to assign them to attend, sometimes they don't always teach our company specific processes, our values, our expectations. So I encourage our HR team to work on establishing good relationships with new managers at the very beginning and walk them through topics thoroughly over a period of time. So you may not do a half day or a full day with them. You may do 1 hour every 2 weeks for the first 90 days. And you have an agenda of things you're going to cover. And you don't rush through it. You take your time and you cover all of those areas, but you do it. And in the process, you're also building that relationship with the new manager. And high performing engaged teams begin with well-trained managers. And then failed managers, this is a quote, can almost always trace failures back to the vicious cycle that developed in the first few months on the job. So if we can get managers on the right foot the first 90 days as managers, then we can teach them how to manage conflict before they have it, how to manage and direct the work of others, how to make sure they can manage projects, how to maintain their disposition and calm under pressure, and then how to do all of the internal processes that we have in all of our systems and our policies, and understand those from the very, very beginning. This comes from Share Your Viewpoint from SHRM, your first 90 days as a new manager and succeeding as a new manager. It's not all about you. And also SHRM launched a people manager qualification program on last year. And finally, before we close today, I just want to take a minute to brag on our HR team. The HR, I believe, is the heart of organizations. And I know that every company is very different, comes with a lot of different nuances and challenges, but our HR people operate by doing the right thing with integrity, working on communication and communicating effectively internally and teaching our managers and everyone to do the same. Continually developing interpersonal relationship skills, being culturally competent, realizing inclusion is a step further than diversity, partnering with our hiring managers for better talent acquisition, contributing during strategic planning if we need to coordinate and do strategic planning with our organizations. There's Rob Schellenberger is a great resource for that as a third party, and I can share more information on that. And then proactively engaging and training new managers. Finally, I just want to say, you know, we might be sending flowers, we may be calling someone to check on them after surgery or death in their family. We may be celebrating a new baby. Whatever we're doing as HR, let's just remember to keep it human and keep the heart in human resources. Putting on our HR capes every day is not a small task. I mean, especially now, some of us are working from home and we're in our PJs, so it's real hard to think about putting on a cape, but we have to, and somebody has to. So don't give up. Hang in their HR team, hang in their HR managers and directors through the challenges. We're getting through it together. And if you find opportunities to just continue to be the heart of your organization and keep the standards high for our teams, they deserve it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, LaTanya. That was a fantastic presentation, covered a lot of material, and this presentation is being recorded, so we will send out an email to all of our members later today or sometime tomorrow, making sure that you have easy access to view this anytime on demand. We'll also be sending out a survey today to get your feedback on this presentation, so please provide that. It's very helpful in us preparing other programs, and also just to give feedback to LaTanya, you know, or whoever the speaker is, because as HR professionals, we're always refining and tweaking what we do. But that was a great presentation, LaTanya. Really good material. Thank you very much. And just kind of want to remind everybody that our next meeting will be April 13th, and that is again going to be Larry Jones with Edward Jones, who's the financial advisor. So make sure you check out our website, get registered for that. Emails will be obviously going out to everyone over the next few weeks to remind you about it. And we look forward to seeing everyone next month. Have a great day, and thank you for attending today. Bye-bye.